Michelle, are you ready?
I was born ready.
She's an award-winning author, speaker, and podcast host who serves on the National Faith Advisory Council. She supported Donald J. Trump for president before it was cool. From her she shed in her beautiful backyard, this is the Michelle Moore Show.
Hello, everybody. So glad that you're with us today. All right. Well, I've got Mike Fuljenz with us. I'm so excited about this. I know you guys have been having quite a few questions about your gold, your silver, so gold stocks versus the actual gold. Where do I store my gold? I get a lot of metals questions. And when it comes to me and even producer Ron and the show, we always turn to Mike Fuljenz and his team. So Mike Fuljenz is with us today. I'm very excited. By the way, if you don't know the backstory, Mike Fuljenz and that team came to me, highly recommended from personal close friends of mine who have used Mike and the team for over 16 years. And that was 2 years ago. So now they've been using him for 18 years. But they were who I turned to when I started looking at investing in gold and silver. So I love it. I love it. I love it that he's here with us today. By the way, he's got a whole list of awards. And so longer than I can read off. But one of the things that I thought was interesting, I wanted to read to you as I'm bringing him in with producer Ron. Mike wrote the consumer protection alert for the Attorney General of Texas, consulted with the Federal Trade Commission for its consumer alert guide, and taught continuing education seminars to law enforcement on coins and counterfeit detection. There's so much stuff on here. It's amazing. It says he's been a consultant for both the U.S. Mint and Royal Canadian Mint, as Well, as being the chief umpire of the local little league, which he says was the hardest job he's ever done. All right, Mike. So glad that you're with us today. Thank you and for joining us and taking some time out of your busy schedule to answer some of our big questions from our viewers today.
And the payment for being chief umpire is 2 chicken strips, a Coke, and French fries for 5 hours and 2 games.
Oh my goodness. Yep. So it was the hardest job and the lowest pay. I love it.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, Mike is also president of the Universal Coin and Bullion and is 2021 ANA Dealer of the Year. I just look at your resume and of course all the awards in the background. And like we've talked about before, obviously I've earned over 40 sales and leadership awards in the real estate industry. And one of the things you said that I think is so true, you said, well, you know what, if it's so easy to get them, everybody would have them. And that is the truth. So these awards mean something. It means a commitment to the industry, excellence, and going above and beyond. And I get that. I understand that. And I appreciate it. So let's go on ahead and get started. So I want to start first. You all are Universal Coin and Bullion. You were First National Reserve. What is going on that is so exciting?
Well, my partners are the owners of First National Reserve. And so we merged in a joint venture agreement between First National Reserve and us to better serve customers by combining all the IT technology, all the resources, and it's a joint venture. We've been working together for 30 years together, but we got together all under the Universal umbrella. I do the marketing. I've come on here as a consultant for First National. Now I'm the president of Universal Coin, which I've always been, and First National's under our umbrella in a joint venture.
Oh, that's amazing. Does that mean that my people get better prices?
They get free shipping and they get better prices. That's right.
I love it. I just want to know. So
Yes.
let's go on ahead and start with a couple of these questions that I've been getting. I've been keeping a list. I like to keep a list. So the first thing is, how does someone know that they're choosing a trustworthy metals company? So when we say metals, we're talking about gold, silver. So just in general, how can somebody know that they're choosing the right company that's going to be reputable? Because even in the last couple of years, I've come to realize some of the schemes and the scams that some of these gold companies are pulling, and I've been absolutely shocked at some of this. And so help people to know, what are they looking for?
Yeah, and I would say, I've been helping law enforcement. There's one company right now that has not been delivering to IRAs for months and months and months, and it's in real trouble. Know another one that they were shipping barbells in Silver Eagle boxes. So you got to know that, are they a professional numismatist guild member? And that one requires years of service. It requires voting in by leaders in the industry. There are other organizations, all you need is a heartbeat and a check to join. And so the P&G, there are services you see, like I could say Trustpilot, Google reviews and everything. I like the BBB. It's better in some areas than others, but are they accredited with an A+ rating from the BBB? What's their time in business? And are they an authorized dealer of leading grading services? It's a number of things, but when I wrote the consumer alert for the Attorney General of Texas, it's all in here. If people want that, I'll have Ryan send it to them for free, that I wrote, and I brought in a few leaders in the industries to consult on it for me. But you've got to take your time and find the right person. You don't want to be like the people I end up helping who buy from the wrong dealer.
Okay. All right. That makes sense. So I've written a few things down here. First thing is, how can you tell what is the difference between a coin and a round? Producer Ron and I were talking about that, and neither one of us was really clear. We both thought two different things. And so we were like, well, let's get some clarification on that.
Well, rounds are sometimes called coins by lay people or different organizations. The military, the Secret Service trade challenge coins, which are not legal tender. A coin, by definition, has legal tender status in some country. And so you could spend it somewhere. A round may have the same amount of silver or gold or copper, but it's not a unit of trade or spending currency in a country. And it's not backed by their government. So that's the difference.
Okay. All right. Here's the big thing. So we were talking, you mentioned something about IRAs where they were, putting barbells in boxes and shipping them to the IRAs, or somebody's in really big trouble because they've not been shipping to the IRA because of their IRA not shipping to the third party depository. So when we talk about IRAs, I just want to make sure for everybody that's listening, because we don't want people to be confused or left behind in this conversation. It's a self-directed IRA is how I refer to it. It's where you're rolling over to a self-directed IRA. You can do this with other things as well. But in this situation, we're talking about rolling it over and putting that money in gold and silver. It's metals. And it's not stocks. We're not talking about stocks. We're talking about you purchasing actual gold and silver metals. And that then when it's a self-directed IRA, it has to stay in some kind of a third party independent depository. And so Mike, talk about that a little bit and help people to understand. So it's actual physical gold or silver, the metals. It's not a stock that you're buying. It's actual physical gold and silver. But because it's through the self-directed IRA, it has to stay at a third-party depository. So please take it away.
Well, certain products are eligible for IRAs and certain aren't, that are gold and silver. Now, the thing I'd say about silver is you might want to put some physical silver in there, but it takes up a lot of space and you'll get hit with higher storage fees. Usually people put gold in IRAs, but silver is eligible. In 1986, a big reason why the U.S. Mint started making silver and gold bullion coins was for IRA eligibility, and so that Americans could put gold and silver in their IRA. The top coin recommended American Gold Eagles. It's the most popular bullion coin in the world, and we specialize in those. And I've written articles about the designer of the reverse, lovely lady, Miley Frost. But we specialize in that, and we have unique ways that can help people get the coins there with minimal shipping fees, or from Michelle Moore, no shipping fees, and help them with the storage in their IRA at a depository. We prefer one in Dallas and one in Delaware. We've never had an issue. We've never had people have a problem with anything happening with their coins in those depositories we recommend.
Okay. And when you say for Michelle Moore, you mean for Michelle Moore viewers. So if you
Absolutely.
so if you call and you mention, hey, I'm a viewer of the Michelle Moore show, you're going to get free shipping. And so when you call, okay, so a couple of different things here. So where is it the safest to store your gold? Let's say it's not through an IRA, a self-directed IRA. Someone's got $10,000. They're going to call. They're having you ship them what they're purchasing. I've had this happen. Producer Ron has had this happen where we've called up and ordered. And so where do you recommend is the safest place for somebody to store their actual gold and silver that they have possession of?
Well, Michelle, we have a gold guide that's been voted the best dealer publication 7 times in our industry. And in it, I have a whole page on protecting your gold, right at your question. They can get this gold guide for free just by calling First National Reserve, and it'll be sent postage free, and the gold guide. It's 34 pages, and it gives them a lot of interesting information. But what I would say is that the safest place I've found, I've never had a customer lose it in a safety deposit box or a private security center. I like bank safety deposit boxes, and I would keep it there. I would keep a little bit at home in a safe, but in conjunction with leading law enforcement I have relationships with, they tell me when the bad guys are on the clock breaking into a house, first place they go is the master bedroom and bathroom. Do not keep your wall safe in the master bedroom and bathroom. Put it somewhere else in the house, because if they're trying to get in and out quickly, that's where they go to find valuables first. And we got lots of tips like that in the gold guide in a page called Protecting Your Valuables, a whole list of tips to make you less likely that someone's going to be going to target and then be successful in invading your home for your valuables.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is put your metals in the freezer.
Don't do like in the movie Pretty Woman, put it in the tank of the toilet in that movie.
At least not the master bedroom's or bathroom's toilet.
Yeah.
I love it. All right. Explain the difference to us about the difference between buying bullion and then these coins. You hear about rare coins all the time. So what's the difference?
Well, bullion is an excellent investment. Gold has been considered and silver value for 2,500 years before Christ to date. Um, Bullion, I love gold bullion because I can give you a story that in 1923, Lamar University here in Beaumont, it was $60 for tuition and books. 100 years later, I got to do the coin flip at their football game at the university. And that coin I flipped was a $20 gold piece from 1923. Three of those would have bought tuition and books in 1923. 100 years later, in 2023, it would buy tuition, books, and room and board. It was worth over $8,000.
Oh,
So
wow.
coins and bullion hold their value. And if they're a little better condition or a little better rarity, they generally have outperformed bullion over time. So I like a mix of rare coins with the bullion coins in a long-term portfolio. And so there's the rare gold coins have done very well statistically and overall. You do have to hold them a little longer than the bullion sometimes. I'll also say silver's more volatile than gold, and gold
Hmm.
stocks are more volatile. Be wary of penny stocks because there's a lot of issues with penny stocks and volatility. But gold is the most stable. Rare coins can perform better over time. You just have to hold them longer.
Okay. We have a viewer, Nisi Karen says, how about buying gold and holding it in a depository? So that's what we were talking about with the IRA. And then the other part of that is, so it's a self-directed or a depository is third party, but under a self-directed IRA, it's independent. It's not something that's owned, a place where it's stored isn't owned by you guys, the Universal Coin and Bullion, but it's also not something that it's being stored in someone's home. So it's not in a place that they have, that have it possession of, which is per what the guidelines are for having a self-directed IRA. How do you know that your stuff is there? So can they call? Do they get a statement from the depository? How do they know that it's arrived when the depository receives a shipment? Are they opening up the boxes and finding those barbells and that's how they got caught? Or what happened? Like, how do
Yeah.
we make sure that our customers are not, having a fast one pulled over on them?
Well, the reputable custodian and depository post online your order, whether it's been received, what the status of is, and you can follow it all online, kind of like a lot of people do with their banking. And one of the beauties, and I'm going to get into something here that you and I talked about for later, is that even if you are storing your gold or silver or rare coins at a depository, in the states we recommend, it's sales tax free. There are 6 states in the District of Columbia. If you take delivery, you have to pay sales tax of 8-9%. And so you want to, if you live in one of the states like Wisconsin, New Jersey, Nevada, and a few others, you want to make sure that you don't take delivery in your state. You either ship it to depository or go and buy it personally from a dealer like us that I helped get Texas sales tax free in 2012. Um, that was something I worked very hard on.
Yeah, that's so good. All right. So, and then they get the statements. I've had a self-directed IRA before, and so I'm familiar with that, where they send you statements and receipts and on a regular basis, and so that's good. So sounds like that's all the same. So sounds great. Okay. One other thing I wanted to ask you about that I thought was interesting is you mentioned at one point about helping to convict a postal employee who had stole packages of coins that were valued over $1 million. What in the world? Like, what happened?
Well, we had about $500,000 in coins disappear in the Postal Service in the course of a year. And so I'd gone to both managers of the 2 post offices here in town, and they both assured me it was happening outside of Beaumont. And one day I get an anonymous phone call that one of the coins we sold, a $15,000 coin, had been sold by a local coin shop here who was known for not checking to see if someone's a problem person. And they bought it from a guy who worked in a hamburger stand, this $15,000 Dahlonega Mint rare certified coin, and from a grading service called Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, NGC for short. And the collector who bought it put the serial number in the database of that grading service and saw it was stolen. And so a call came to me. I got together with an inspector general of the post office. Whenever I've gotten to those people over the last 40 years, they're very good. They got with me and they put 5 tracers in packages. They had people watching the woman and they never saw her drive away. I mean, never saw her take any of the packages. When she drove away, 3 of the tracers went off. And so they arrested her. She had hundreds of packages unopened in her house. And in the end, she got 37 months. The judge was no nonsense, and she's going to prison. The post office let her retire with full benefits. And she had been stealing not just from us, but other coin dealers, people who sold computers and valuables. And she recognized the addresses on the packages. I mean, we'd changed address, we'd changed names on it. We'd done a lot of things we've been recommended to do, but she'd look at the address for who was shipping it. And she said she was a kleptomaniac, but the judge said, why didn't you get help? She said, I didn't have any money. And she said, you stole all this and you had these valuables and you were selling it off. You had money. So she
Wow.
wanted to stay at home because she could collect her secret Social Security. But the judge said, no, you're going to prison and you don't get Social Security in prison, which I didn't know, and many didn't, because the government is paying for your housing and your medical and food and everything else. So in the end, we caught her, and it took a whole group of people, and we got the highest award in the industry for that, the Saul Kaplan Award 2 weeks ago in Chicago.
Oh, that's amazing. Southern Georgia says, I always look at my coins before I take them to the bank. I have found coins that people spent at a store. Oh, that's interesting. Maybe not realizing what it was worth and just spent it, I guess. That's interesting. Southern Georgia, wow, I hadn't thought about that. Okay, the other thing is, so when I started buying silver in the very beginning, I remember not knowing anything about like the 0.99 troy ounce. Can you explain about when you're looking at silver, for example, and the percentage of how much silver and how that affects and the price and all of that? Can you explain that?
Well, the currently bullion coins around the world, the U.S. Mint is 39 silver, we say, 0.999. That's pure. Some mints went to 49 silver, 0.9999, and it really doesn't matter. They trade equally in the market. That's pure. When you get to 39 or 49 pure, that's plenty pure. In our coinage back in the 1800s and 1900s through 1964, it was 90% silver. Sterling silver is 92.5%. So they're all various. If you would sell your silver flatware or silver something, they're going to figure if it's sterling, which a lot of it is, that isn't plated, then it's 92.5%. You would multiply 0.925 times the spot price of silver, and that's about what you should get. If you go to a hotel buyer, they may pay you 20 cents on the dollar, or a pawnbroker. You sell that stuff at a reputable coin dealer, he will be giving you near spot and take care of you. P&G
Okay.
dealers, BBB accredited.
That makes sense. Okay. Rules PW says, what is the best investment for a quick result, meaning money, making money, but safe at the same time?
I would say if you're doing it in our area, it'd be gold bars. Costco sells them at about 2% over spot. We sell them slightly under that. It's on the website. And, we buy them back at spot to 1% over spot. And I think that's the safest and easiest thing to do is get some gold bars. I prefer Gold American Eagles. They sell at under 4% over spot on our website. And you get about 2% when you buy them back. They're the most popular bullion coin, but either the Gold American Eagle or the bar. I would not do the fractionals like the 10th ounce because they cost me 10% over spot, where the 1 ounce gold eagle cost me 3.5. You get more gold for your money with the larger denomination because the mint has minting cost, and they got to put that even in the small ones. So 10th ounces have 10 minting costs per ounce.
Okay. That makes so much sense. Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate you being here, Mike. One of the things that I thought might be an indicator, now just help me here because I'm not sure, but that opened my eyes is when I said earlier in the show that I started learning about what some of these other metals companies are charging. So I had a viewer who reached out to us when we very first partnered with you guys and said, I am with a metals company. I saw them on a different show. I put, my IRA, they did a self-directed IRA with you guys or with this other company. And she said, it's almost half of what it was. Now we're talking about a lot of money here. And she says it's already almost half of what it was. And it's only been like 4 months. And so I said, something doesn't sound right. And so I had her get with one of your guys, and we, have shared some of her testimony and all this, because she came back and we found out that she had almost gained back almost everything she had lost, that one of your guys actually walked her through all different kinds of stuff, went way above and beyond, unbeknownst to us. And so she starts telling us all this stuff that one of your guys did, your sales guys did. And it blew me away. And she said, yeah, because of him and his coaching and advising, I've got almost every penny back. And so, but then when I had you on the show and we talked about a little bit of that last time, you also were talking about some of these other people, these companies are charging prices that are really criminal, 20%, 30%, 40%, you were saying. And so I'm like, okay, something's a red flag here. So I'm just kind of wondering, even if somebody is looking at their own situation and saying something doesn't seem right, I'm just kind of wondering, from the fees and expenses side of it, is there a way to tell that you might be with the wrong place?
Well, it's always, it's a very good question. And the person we're talking about, actually, they were being charged over 100% over on bullion coins we make 1% to 2% on. So they were just charging a criminal amount, and they did give a refund with a simple letter. So to tell P&G dealers, time and business, get the gold guide, get the information, the what I wrote for the Texas Attorney General. Before you do it, I always say buy the book before the coin. There's a reason why our industry gave us the Best Dealer Publication Award. What you're asking about, I've got in writing. They can take their time and look at it. But there are some good dealers and there's some very bad ones. And you can't afford to rush into it. Even though gold's up about 25% this year and silver's up about 25%, take a few days, get the materials, and make sure what you're doing.
Okay, that sounds reasonable for sure. Okay, should you keep coins and silver polished? Does it help maintain the value? That's a great question.
Well, you never clean a coin. A coin, once you clean it, it's got scratches, light scratches that are always going to be there. A dealer can see it tilting to the light. What's treasured in the coin field is original surfaces, not anything cleaned. So once it's cleaned, I can't unclean it. So don't clean coins. Leave them their original. Even if you think it's dark or ugly, let a professional look at it. If there's some surface dirt on it or something, we've got solutions that can remove that without putting scratches on the surface of the coin itself. Don't clean coins.
Okay, very interesting. Mike, I appreciate you. So look, I want to make sure everybody understands. So if you decide to do any business with Universal Coin and Bullion, make sure that you mention Michelle Moore Show so you can get free shipping on what you're getting. If and of course, if you're doing a self-directed IRA, that may be something else to talk about as well. But there is a website, universalcoin.com/Michelle Moore, if you want to look there as well. But what I highly recommend, if you're anything like me, is I like to talk to people. And I would definitely be calling to get the guide. And so let me give you the number. It's on the screen, 800-321-8700. If you need some questions answered, I didn't ask today, whatever, you're watching the replay and you got some questions, they're open 7 days a week. I found that out because I've gotten questions before from people on a Sunday, or I've gotten testimonials from people that actually said, I called on a Sunday. So anyways, thank you, Mike, for being here. Again, it's 800-321-8700. Ooh. I am thrilled that he was here to be able to answer your questions. And if you got more, give him a call and just make sure, be safe than sorry. We'll be right back after this.
I'm Dr. Fuljenz. For over 30 years, UCB has helped customers strengthen portfolios with gold. But let them tell you in their own words.
Buying gold and silver from Universal Coin and Bullion has been one of the greatest experiences for me, and it's been an easy process and also a very safe process to do that.
Call now to secure your 1 ounce gold or silver American Eagle coin with no dealer markup.
All right. right. So glad that we had Mike with us. And today we finally get to hear from Jack and Margy Flynn. I'm so excited that they're back. And so let's go on ahead and bring them in as well. Hello, Margy. All right. So so excited that you guys are back. I see that your mic is, let's see, muted. So we want to make sure that you unmute your mic. So today we're planning on talking about constitutional pure trust. We've gotten a lot of questions about that. Jack, Margy, so glad that you're with us today. All right, everybody's wanting to know, Jack, tell us what's going on with your health.
Well, I don't know.
Still don't know
And
yet.
at this point, no one else seems to know either. But after we returned from speaking at the Red Pill in South Dakota, I got very sick. Not sick, as if,
Like affects
yeah,
you, flu or something. It wasn't like that.
no, it wasn't the flu. It was just something that was very debilitating, that weakened me totally. Okay, I had no strength. I have constant fatigue. I can't do anything, really, physically or mentally. Okay, I just have to relax. And we don't know what's going on, and no one else seems to know what's going on either, but I have some tests coming up. So we'll make a determination, hopefully one way or the other, fairly soon. But thank you for your concern.
Do you think that it was something that happened at the Red Pill show that you all went to and spoke at? Did
No, I
anybody else
don't.
need it, or just you guys?
I
just
don't
you?
think so.
Okay.
I mean, look, there were some people there that are diametrically opposed to what we do. And some people tried to knock us out before we ever got there. And they told a lot of lies about us. And, Ed Griffin called us up and we said, look, you want some information? You want some proof? Here it is. We sent him a whole bunch of stuff that verified exactly what we've done for 70 years. And he apologized very much. And so we went ahead and spoke at the Red Pill. But we know that there are some people in any organization, I don't care what organization it is, Michelle, okay, that work for the other side, okay? Most organizations work for the other side. It's right across the board. And unfortunately, the people haven't figured that out yet, okay? We have to start trusting ourselves and our own ability to discern and not trust organizations. But I don't think anything happened at the Red Pill, but I know that afterwards I was sick as a dog. So we'll find out.
I think it was
We'll
a
find out.
combination of things. Jack hasn't been feeling well for a long time. He's been not himself for quite some time. But when we came home, I don't know whether it was the stress of the trip and the demands that were absolutely thrust upon us, because you know how it is when you see people and they want to talk with you, and there were hundreds of people there. So there were hundreds of people that we had to talk to, which was wonderful. I mean, we enjoyed it, but it was very taxing. And by the end of the trip, we were pretty much exhausted.
That's right.
And then it was a long drive. And then we drove back through a different route so that we could stop off at one of our students' places. She has a farm in Kansas, which was lovely. That was a couple of days of rest that we really needed. And so we got home, and then we had to just jump right back into life again. And Jack just didn't, his energy just didn't pick up. It just started to go downhill. And I said, I don't care what the doctors have said. Well, it could be this, it could be that. I want answers. So I got a little pushy with some of the medical professionals. I was nice about it, but I was pushy. And I managed to push up this next appointment till this coming week, this Friday, actually.
Friday.
This one might give us some additional answers. I think it might be more than one thing going on, but I'm not a doctor. I'm not pretending to be. I can only assess what I see every day. And I know something isn't right. So we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll make it right one way or the other.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, you're going to have to keep us updated. You know that. Rules PW says you look beautiful, Margy. Well, what about Jack?
Thank
Didn't he
you.
look-
Well, he looks good.
I'm worn out right now,
Yes,
so I don't
very
look
sweet.
too
Thank
well.
you.
Rumble
Very
Tumble
Good to
20.
see you, Michelle, and good to be back with you.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm glad you're back. Rumble Tumble 20 said, Margy, your new haircut is awesome.
Thank you.
And of course, we've got everybody excited to hear back from you guys. So Natalie said, yay, Jack and Margy. Hi, Michelle and producer Ron. And a Love of Shoes says, so excited to see Jack and Margy. Keep praying for you going. So, all right. So let's talk about, and we're so glad that you're back and sharing your wisdom with us. what we're going to talk about today kind of reminds me when I started homeschooling the kids. Let me explain. This just hit me today. And by the way, I got your message, so we're all good. Okay, so the thing about the homeschooling was I didn't realize how really easy it's going to be and how much say I had in the curriculum. So I'm like, well, what are the rules? What do you mean? And they're like, well, whatever you decide. And it was like, what do you mean? Where's the curriculum? Where do I get the book for English? Or what do I do here? Or and I was looking for a system and rules and being told what to, provided what to do. And I just had to pay for it. And they're like, oh no, well, how do they get PE? Well, whatever you decide. What do you mean, whatever I decide? Well, I mean, you could join a gym and they could be working out, or they could go bowling, and, you could count that, or you could do that. And it was just like, this is incredible. And so in working with the two of you, I ended up realizing, even with the trust, I always thought, oh, you got to get a law firm. You got to, and so we have rights that I didn't understand. And so Margy and I had this long conversation a couple of months ago, and Margy's like, well, whatever you decide. And I'm like, okay, so what about this though? Well, yeah, that's all you got to do. Really? Yeah. And so it's like, wow. And so today I really want this to be so that the viewers can understand on some level the foundational rights that they have to their own properties. And so does that make sense? Am I on track? Okay.
Yes, you're very much on track. The reason that we see wisdom in having a trust in the first place is to put some separation between people and their assets. Okay, it's always a good idea in case some bozo hits you in a car when you're on your way home from work or something, and he tries to go after your assets. If you're home and most of what you have is in a trust or several trusts, he can't touch it. Okay, that's one thing, just an everyday, ordinary, possible dilemma that is immediately, averted just like that. The reason that we say that a constitutional pure trust is the way to go is because it is predicated in and on our rights that are guaranteed to us in the Constitution. And your point about homeschooling, I totally get it. We've been so conditioned from the time we were babies that someone else has to tell us what we can do and how we can do it and when we can do it and why we can do it and why we can't do it. That when we have the realization that, well, wait a minute, I'm in charge here.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the epitome of sovereignty, is being in charge, right? Not that you want to lord over somebody else or get the best of anybody else, but you just want to exercise your right, your own wisdom innately in your intelligence and whatever knowledge you've amassed, hopefully over the years, to make decisions that are good for you and your family, your posterity. And that's what a trust does. It helps you to make good decisions and to separate yourself from your assets. And it's something that all of the very rich people do. They all have trusts because they don't want to have anything happen to what they've amassed over their generations. And you certainly can understand why. Well, the average gal or guy doesn't have that kind of wealth to worry about. But I'm sure he's worked hard, or she's worked hard, to amass enough money to buy a home, maybe a car. If they're lucky, maybe they've got a second home, like a little cabin or something, or they've got a boat or some ski-mobiles or whatever it is that they enjoy doing, four-wheel driving, what have you. And these things are precious. They've earned them. And they certainly have a right to want to use them and to keep them safe. So in order to do that, if you put your assets in a trust, again, you separate them from yourself. And if you have multiple assets, you want to have maybe multiple trusts, one for your home that you dwell in. And maybe if you have, say, a rental property or something, put that in another trust. It's up to you to decide how you want to manage your assets. But the key is you decide, you and your husband, you and your partner, whatever, you make the decisions yourself. And so by creating a trust, you are basically putting your assets into this trust instrument. And if you maintain the position as the managing trustee, the chief trustee, whatever title you want to give yourself, you have control over what happens to the assets, how they're managed, but you don't own them.
And there's a big distinction.
There's a big distinction there. So if you have children or friends or a charity that you want to have as a beneficiary whatever. You set it up your way, a dear friend, who knows? That person, those entities become the beneficiaries, or what they call the certificate holders. And your assets would flow to them when you pass. And you can instruct as much as you want to. You can create a directive in the trust, which basically has the effect of a will. You know, when somebody passes away, usually they have a will. And even with a will, sometimes it still goes into probate, which can take forever. And a big chunk of the estate usually gets eaten up by lawyers and all that legal nonsense. With a trust, that doesn't happen. It's not subject to probate. And if you have a directive, let's say it's a couple of elderly people and they've got a bunch of grandkids, and maybe they want the boys to get all grandpa's fishing equipment and grandpa's favorite hat or whatever, and grandma wants to give her brooch that her mama gave her to her oldest granddaughter, and she wants to give her a wedding ring to her younger one or whatever. You can specify whatever you want in your trust. And so when you pass, the other trustees remaining, they have instructions from the creator how they want this to go. Do they want it to stay in the trust till a certain time? Do they want the assets to be distributed immediately? Who gets what? And that's all up to the individual creator of the trust. That's why it's such a good instrument, because it gives you the freedom to do what you want to do. And you can still take care of everybody in the way that you think you should. There's no arguments. It's in black and white. This is what grandma and grandpa wanted. So for us, that's the simplest way to do anything. And that's why we've done it. And because we've done it, other people have asked us about it over the years. And we said, well, this is what we would do. Now, I know a lot of people have gone to lawyers to have trusts created, but those trusts are statutory trusts, which means they fall under the corporation and the corporate statutory regulations. So they're subject to things that a constitutional pure trust is not subject to. And that's another huge asset in this type of trust. And it doesn't cost you a fortune to create it. You can do it simply. And again, all you have to do is think of who in your life you trust, who would be co-trustees with you, and who would be able to carry out your wishes when you've passed. It's almost too simple to believe, but it really is simple. Now, looking at the trust itself, it's a long document, because it specifies all of the specific positions that are protected by and through the Constitution. And it's very solid and it's very sound. And again, as sovereign people, we're sovereign in our own right because we're born here. We have inherent rights, which our founders were wise enough to have recognized and argued about, so that they made sure they eventually got the Bill of Rights in there. So we know that we have those rights. And that means we have the authority to exercise those rights. But just like you were concerned with homeschooling, well, what do I have to do, and what kind of things do I have to do to make them pass PT? Same thing with the trust. People ask us the same questions. Well, how do I do? Well, what would you like? You mean I can make that choice? Yes, you can. So we say to people, think about it, because you will be steering the ship, so to speak. So you have to know what you want. You have to give it some thought. You can't go willy-nilly into it. You have to understand how it works and why, and keep that separation between you and your assets.
You cannot play with the trust.
No.
Okay, you have
It's
to really
serious.
know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's worth it.
Because if you make a condition in the trust, it's not benefiting you. You did so because you don't understand what a trust is. You really have to understand what a trust is and whose responsibility it is within the trust. Now, one of the biggest positions in a trust is when people pass on. If they pass on and leave a will, let's say the estate is worth $5 million, one of the recipients ever going to receive that $5 million? First of all, they're not going to receive $5 million. They're going to receive a much less amount than $5 million. Okay. So a trust is designed to pass on the assets to the other trustees once the main trustee passes. Okay.
That's not true.
It's
Management.
nothing that happens. Okay. There's no IRS that jumps all over you. There's no bank that jumps all over you. There's no probate that jumps all over you. The assets are passed
to the
within the
beneficiaries.
trust. Yes.
To the beneficiaries.
To the beneficiaries
That's what the trust
as
is.
decided by the maker of the trust, okay, the creator of the trust.
Right.
That's one of the main benefits. Now, there are tax reasons everywhere, okay? We're not tax advisors, we're not lawyers, okay? We're not financial advisors. We simply tell people what we would do
Yeah. And what
with the
we've done.
trust, okay, which they can do if they want, but it's up to them, okay? We're just giving them our experiences in terms of what we've done for the past 40 years or so, okay? Then they can decide. Now, one of the reasons for a trust is to not necessarily hide your assets,
Protect.
but protect your assets,
Yeah.
okay? Why should we have to protect our assets if we had a just government, which
Yeah.
we do not anywhere in the country, okay? We wouldn't have to protect our assets. We could live with the understanding that the Fourth and Fifth Amendments will be upheld by a just government. Well, there's no just government. There's no constitutional government in this country. And there are two things I want to leave with people. If you take a look at the Grace Report, okay, and you all should know what the Grace Report is. Reagan put it into effect back in, I think it was 1980, something
He
like
asked
that.
for it to be done. Yeah.
Okay. The bottom line is when the Grace Report came back, which was a major study of the IRS scam in this country, the Grace Report stated that not one nickel goes to pay for any expenses incurred by government. Not one nickel. Okay?
Mhm.
So why should anyone in this country pay to an IRS that's pulling a major fraud on everyone? That's number
Yeah.
one. Number two, okay, Title 26 CFR 601, 602 that we've discussed and you've discussed many times before,
Yeah.
states that payment of income taxes is voluntary. Voluntary, okay? If it's voluntary, and you know if you pay that not one nickel is going to pay for government expenses, why would you ever pay a dime or anything to the IRS?
It's just something that you're not even subject to.
The American people have been defrauded from the very beginning. Okay. It's about time they opened their eyes and saw the realities that are playing on in front of them
I wish they would.
and saying, no, I don't want to pay taxes. I don't want to be bound by this law. I don't want to have to do this. I don't want to have to do
I'm
that.
not subject to it.
They're not, you don't have to do a damn thing because you have the Constitution that guarantees you all the rights that you ever need. When government comes in, government goes against the Constitution by enforcing rules, regulations, and statutes upon you, which are all unconstitutional. So we have to get a lot wiser and a lot smarter.
And that's where the people's knowledge comes in. I saw a question that said, well, if the government doesn't uphold the Constitution, why would it uphold the trust? This is where people's knowledge and their courage and convictions come in, because we know what the government is supposed to do, and we know the government doesn't do it. But when we're around, the government does because we force their hand. We, as the people, remember, who is the de jure government? We, the people. We have the lawful right and duty and authority to hold our government accountable to the supreme law of the land. And that means they have to uphold the Constitution in every one of our rights that the Constitution guarantees. And this entire trust is protected by the Constitution. So you need to know your rights, and you need to know what the Constitution does. And you need to know, very importantly, that the Constitution does not permit any aspect of any government to go against it. And when it does, and it's the people's job to take that entity or entities out of office and punish them for their crimes against the Constitution and against we, the people. This is what the Americans have to get. Just like you had to learn that homeschooling is your pick. Oh, I think I'll give the kids rake in the yard today for physical therapy. Cool. Your decision, right? Good choice.
That was
right?
that easy.
Yeah, really. I mean, it is that easy if you want to do it that way.
Yeah.
This is what I mean about we have to own our own power. And a lot of people have been so brainwashed into thinking that they don't have any power that when somebody comes up against them that sounds authoritative, like he's in some kind of official position, they kind of cower and back down. That's wrong. You don't have to be disagreeable about it, but you do have to be firm. You have to let people know, look, I know my rights. I know what the Constitution is. I know what it says. I know it's a supreme law. And I know you took an oath to that Constitution. And if you didn't, you've got no business holding that office. And if you did take the oath and you're going against my rights or trying to, then you're perjuring your oath. step down, man, because you're disqualified. We have to be able to look these people in the eye and speak with truth and conviction of the heart. This is what's necessary for all Americans. And we got to get smart really fast.
Let's
really
take
quick.
a look at the comment by that fellow or gal who was watching. Comment was basically, if the government won't protect the Constitution, why would the government protect the trust?
Yeah.
The answer is you
That's
have
what
to
I
get
said.
off your duff
Easy.
and protect your constitutional rights, just as everyone else in this country has to get off their duff and protect their constitutional rights.
Yeah.
I mean, the American people have never protected once in the history of this country as a society their constitutional rights, not once. And if anyone can tell me, okay, of anyone who has, except for Margy and me and my people, I'll eat Kansas City, okay? Because no one does. No one uses the Constitution to protect constitutional rights. And when people with the red pill, when we said that, they were flabbergasted.
It was amazing.
What do you mean people don't use the Constitution? Well, do you use the Constitution? No, I use statutes. Well, that's an example, okay? You have to use the law of the land. And people are not using the law of the land.
It was extraordinary. And in some respects, it was very eye-opening. Kind of what we expected in a way, because so many people think they know.
And they don't.
But they don't. And they use the term, the Constitution. Yeah, I know the Constitution.
No, they don't.
But when you actually have a conversation with them to try to discuss what the Constitution really means and how it does protect you and how it does limit what government can do, most of them are kind of thunderstruck. Well, I didn't know that. I say, well, I guess that you don't know the Constitution as well as you thought you did. But there's still time to learn. And now would be a really good time to learn, because the more people who understand the dynamics between we the people and our servants who are below us. Remember, a long time ago, I said there's a pecking order. We've got God at the top. We've got our creation. We are created by this God. Okay, so we're next. We created the Constitution, our ancestors did. So there's our platform. And beneath that Constitution is every aspect of every government. It's a real simple thing. It's a no-brainer. And if you can get that kind of hierarchy in your mind and realize that we have the right, the duty, and the authority to hold these people accountable, then instead of being timid and afraid when you go before some kind of public body, you'll have confidence and you'll speak with conviction of the heart, and they'll take you seriously because they know this gal or this guy know what they're talking about. And that's what we're hoping for Americans. Wake up to your Constitution. Thank God that we have it in place. Thank God that our founding fathers were wise enough to do what they did when they did it, because they recognize our inherent rights come from our Creator. Government doesn't give you anything, least of all your rights. It comes from God. And if you believe in God, and if you see yourself as a God-loving, God-fearing person, then you have to respect the rights that God inherently gave you. And you need to know how to stand up for them. And that's where our Constitution comes in. Exactly. And that's where these trusts come in.
All right. That sounds so good. Southern Georgia asked, can you do it on LegalZoom? No.
No.
There's a difference between legal and lawful, and we're talking about lawful. So you're not going to be able to do it on a platform that's called LegalZoom.
Absolutely right. That's absolutely right. You got it.
Yeah. Okay. So Reddy K says, I have a living trust. Is this the same thing?
If it was created by a lawyer, no. If it doesn't say that it's a constitutional trust and it doesn't put in all the provisos as to how the Constitution protects you, then no, it's not.
A constitutional pure trust.
Yeah. It has to be totally based in the Constitution, nothing statutory at all. And most trusts are created by lawyers and they're statutorily based.
And living trusts are usually statutory.
Yeah.
Okay. The next one is Southern Georgia says, can you tell me if you can make a trust online? Does it have to be notarized?
Of course, you always want any important document you want to have notarized. That gives it an official capacity, but you don't want to record it. You want to keep it private. This is a private matter between you, okay, your assets, and what you want to convey to your progeny. All right. So no, you don't want to do it online. You want to do it by and through your own private works on your own computer or typewriter or whatever. And we do have a template that's available. First, we would send out just some general information to the people about what the trust is. A little bit of knowledge, okay, can be dangerous. So you need a little bit more than a little bit of knowledge in order to do something like this. And then they have to decide, okay, am I up for the test? So I want to do it. And if they decide they do, then for a donation of $100, we would give them the trust template and all the documents that go along with it, definitions and terms so they understand. And if they need to have, I'm not sure about this, if they want to call us or email us, that's fine. It's well worth it. This would be anywhere from 2,000 to 3,000 or more. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
If you were getting it elsewhere, if you can even get them anymore, because a lot of people are just, they're afraid to do anything. But you really need to understand what you're doing. Okay. It's important.
Yes, I would say so. The next question that I have is, so if somebody does a trust, I'm thinking, especially if you put some money in that trust, some cash, then you would need a checking account that would be in the name of that check.
That's correct. You put
You'll
it in the
create that. You create the documents and everything, get it notarized, and then take those to the bank when you go to start and open up the checking account that would then
you show them this is the name of the trust, and I'm opening up the bank account in this trust, and I'm the general manager or whatever, and I'm the signer, and my partner is also co-trustee and a signer or whatever, however you set it up. Okay. That means, let's say you say you have a house and it still has a mortgage, so you have to pay every month. You have to notify your bank that the ownership has been transferred to the trust, and that you will be making the payments from here on in through the trust account. Just you do everything above board. There's nothing that's untoward about any of this. It's all very simple and direct.
And when you present the documents to the bank, we never present the entire trust.
Just
the
a few
entire trust is
private.
It's enormous.
The word is private.
And it's private. Okay. We present certain specific information to show that we are who we say we are, and the trust is what we say it is. Okay. And that's enough. That's enough.
Okay. Makes sense. If you already have a mortgage, but you're still, you have a home, you're paying a mortgage, it's not paid off yet. Do you need to get the name changed? That's the name on the deed. Do you need to get that changed to the name on the trust, or it's just your asset?
You're going to convey the trust by a deed and fee simple, very simple, just like that. And then I would not even record it with the county recorder. I would just leave it as is. Okay.
That makes sense.
It's nobody's business what you do. Americans are always, so quick to give away the store, and it's nobody's business what you do. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and you give your power away every time you do that, and you shouldn't do that.
They give their power away. They give away information. They give away everything. For God's sakes,
they don't think about it.
Take back your own.
Because they're good people and they don't have any mean intentions. So they don't understand that somebody else could have mean intentions toward them. And that's why it's good to keep things close to your vest,
That's good. That's a good point. Annabelle 25 says people will fight for toilet paper, but not for their constitutional rights. The pandemic proved that. I think you're right, Annabelle.
Good comment, Annabelle.
She's right.
Yeah.
Very good.
All right. Steph 0228 says, if taxes are voluntary, why do people go to jail for not paying? Bill Cooper had a whole group that got in trouble after they shot him for not paying the IRS. Well, what do y'all say?
Okay, I'll tell you why they go to jail, because they played the IRS game. They they put themselves into the IRS statutory and code nonsense. Okay. And those people at the IRS don't even uphold their own codes, right? So don't expect it, well, your code said this and I can do that. No, it's been changed to this. They don't care. You never play their game. You never, ever play anybody else's game but your own. Your own game is your constitutionally guaranteed rights to make a choice. And since you are not subject to, therefore not liable for income tax, why would you pay? And why would you use their codes and their regulations and rules to try to protect yourself? Most of the people that I know of back in the day who were fighting this fight and who were using IRS codes went to jail, and many of them are dead now. Some of them killed themselves because, and one guy in particular was a friend of ours. And he thought that he knew better than we did because he had memorized all the codes. And I told him he was wasting his time. You can't fight them that way. You have to fight them above that. The Constitution is above it. And he wouldn't listen to me. And he ended up killing himself. His life went from great to horrible.
Margy, what I always remember, and I'm sure you remember saying this because you probably have said it for years, but I'll never forget it's been a year ago. You said something that was very basic, and you said, don't fill out and complete their forms. You're never going to win on their system, their forms, their documents.
Right. Exactly right.
Yeah, stay away from their stuff.
Yes.
Now, I'm going to tell the viewers something. So I get the luxury of receiving phone calls and emails and communications throughout really the world. And I can tell you that I have numerous viewers who have reached out to me, numerous, who have said, I live in California. I haven't paid taxes in 32 years. I live in Texas. I haven't paid taxes in 7 years. Don't fill out the forms. What I have been able to, I think, this is my theory, what I have noticed, and we've talked about this before, is where you get in trouble, goes back to what Margy says. I've been able to pinpoint that where people go wrong is when they fill out the form. And you sign it saying you owe $10,282, but you don't have the money today and blah, blah, blah.
That's right.
That's when you get in trouble. So when I hear people say, I have the IRS coming after me, what can I do? I go, well, did you fill out the form saying that, like, how is it they're coming after you? So when I started asking questions, I started noticing a very 100% of the time consistent thing. And that was, you got in trouble because you filled out the forms. Don't fill out their forms. Don't, because you sign saying that. And so I say it always, where you stop participating in the voluntary program matters. If you filled out last year's tax forms and you agree that you owe them $842, well, then you owe them $842. And if you don't pay it, they can't come after you because they've got documents where you've said you owe
I'll
them.
do it. That's right. That's why we say you have to understand that they want your complicity. They want you to think that you have to do this. Now, they lie to you by omission. They don't tell you that it's a voluntary thing to participate. So you're going in there blind, but you've signed that paper and they're going to say, well, ignorance of the law is no excuse. So for this particular tax year, you owe us. So suck it up, pay it, and then exercise your right to rescind your signatures and revoke your election to file and get the heck out of the system and stay out of it. Don't let them fool you again. They fooled all of us for a long time. And we thought we were supporting our country. As Jack said, he mentioned the Grace Report. Not a dime goes to support our country. Not a dime. It goes to the IMF. And these are the evil beings that are I would say they're the stain on this earth that cause all the problems. So why would we want to feed them anything? Nothing. Stay away.
We're feeding our own enemy.
That's right. You're supporting your enemy.
And we've been doing it forever. We've been doing what evil wants us to do forever. Well, if you're good people, you can't be doing evil. You have to be doing good.
That's right.
Please start doing good. Now, the situation with the tax scam is the very same situation with going to court and going against government.
Same thing.
Just as you said, Michelle, and you're 1,000,000,000% correct. As soon as you enter their jurisdiction, as soon as you sign anything, as soon as you say, yes, I owe this, you're screwed. Okay. So don't enter their system. Stay out of it. All right. And it's the same with going to court. I mean, there's no one in the country who uses the Constitution in court today. No one, no citizen, no lawyer. It's Margy and I and our people. And when we said this, the red pill people almost died. This, what do you mean you're the only ones? We're the only ones. Do you know anyone else? Do you know anyone else who's using the Constitution and winning even now? No, I don't. Okay. So we have to get a lot wiser and a lot smarter real fast.
Okay. So let's cover, well, and I think back, it reminds me, and we've talked about this before, COVID, where I'd be going in the grocery store with my son and they'd be trying to hand you a mask, ma'am. And I'm like, oh, no, thank you. We don't need one. And their jaws would drop, but they couldn't make me put a mask on.
No.
And, I mean, do they not want my business? I mean, they're open for business. And so nobody asked me to leave. Yeah, nobody asked me to leave. I didn't have any issues. And I did it numerous times. And there were many times that one of my sons or both of my sons would be with me. And we'd be the only ones in the entire place that didn't have a mask on. We did not, my verbiage was, we're not going to participate. We're not participating in this nonsense is what I used to tell them, or insanity. And so we're not participating. Now I asked the younger son recently, who's 18 now. And I said, be honest, tell me the truth. Like when you think back, do you think that, what did you think back then? Everybody and their brother is talking about how this is so deadly and they're all wearing masks and we're driving down the street and you see somebody walking their dog wearing a mask. So what do you think? What did you think back then? Did you think I was crazy? And as I remember saying to them, I promise you, I know what I'm talking about.
Right.
And so what my son said to me is, Mama, you have to remember, we're young, like we think our parents know it all anyways.
That's
And
true.
so, now he's 18 now. It may change, but back then, but the point is, he said, we knew you knew what you were talking about. Yeah. And so, it was interesting. And I can't tell you how many times, but I just said, we're not participating. We choose not to participate. Didn't mean that I wasn't rude, but I wouldn't even stop. I would just keep walking. No, thank you. And keep going. And people's jaws would drop. But I had it 3 different times: Kohl's, Publix, and there was a third one. I think maybe both times were Publix, 2 different locations of Publix, and then which is a grocery store, and then Kohl's. And Kohl's, those ladies couldn't believe I wasn't going to wear. Home Goods. So I had 4 times: 2 Publix, 1 Home Goods, and the other one I said. So just crazy. But we just didn't participate. That was my thing. No, thank you. We don't participate. And keep walking. And so it's just not my problem if you don't understand it. And we're just not going to participate in this insanity. And so that's part of it.
It is.
We all have the right of free speech, and free speech means free choice. Okay. You choose to say what you want to say.
And do what you want.
You choose to do what you want to do. Guaranteed in the First Amendment.
It was Kohl's. So it's Kohl's, Home Goods,
Publix,
and then twice at Publix.
Yeah.
So it was a total of 4 times. I'm writing it down. I knew I was forgetting Kohl's. All right. So let's answer some more viewer comments and questions. Now, I have heard even this happened to producer Ron. So Southern Georgia says, I went to take out money from the bank. They asked me why I was taking out my money. I was shocked that she really wanted to know what I was going to use the money for. When did that start? Yeah.
This is going to be a push, and people have to learn to say no very politely. Ma'am, that is none of your concern. Okay. That's private and it's none of your concern. Okay. It's my money and I want it now.
However, let's take a look at the reality. When you signed an agreement with the bank, you gave up your rights. Okay.
Didn't realize
that's basically what the bank took from you. They took away your rights. Anytime we sign with a bank, it's all rights reserved above the signature. Okay. Always. We have to reserve our rights. We have to use our rights just as you used your rights. No one else did. You did. All the other people, the 99 or almost 100% of the people, gave away their rights. You were the only one who didn't. Okay. And this is what I mean about America. The American people have to take back their power and take back their rights, and real fast.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's move on to the next one. So we have another question. Jack and Margie, you're so wonderful. So glad that you're back. Thank you for enlightening us when our government has fooled and suppressed us. Yes. C.S. Harville says, we have been out of that system for over 13 years. I work and do not have taxes taken out of my pay. I marked exempt on the W-4.
Well, that's one way of doing it, but I'd use a statement of citizenship, and I'd make sure that they know who I am and I don't participate. I wouldn't sign any of their forms ever again. Can't be trusted.
However, what works for one person may not work for another person.
Depends
but
on
it
the
worked
company.
for this fellow pretty well.
And I'm glad it did.
I'm glad it did. But it would be best to do the statement of citizenship.
All right. So let's talk about this. So if somebody is watching and they don't know about the rescinding your rights, those templates are on MichelleMooreShow.com, provided by Jack and Margie. You'll just have to go through there, but it's on there. All those documents. Jack and Margie and I have done shows on these things. There is a playlist on Truth Talk America. If you click on the Michelle Moore Show page on truthtalkamerica.com, you can then scroll down, and there are a couple of different playlists that producer Ron has created for you, the viewers. And one of them is Jack and Margy Flynn's different shows. And so we've done numerous shows about your rights. This is not new to a lot of my viewers that are watching. I know that we keep growing and we got new people, but there is a plethora of information about your rights in that playlist for these shows that we've been doing for well over a year now with Jack and Margy Flynn. Kent says, has a constitutional trust stood up in any disputes? Where can you take disputes?
Hey, you don't want to take them to court.
You don't want to go to court, that's for sure. There shouldn't be any dispute. As I said before, a trust is a private instrument, okay? Nobody should know anything about the trust except you, your co-trustees, and perhaps your beneficiaries that they're named in it, but they don't have to know the details either. It's nobody's business but yours. None. This is what I mean about giving your power away and thinking somebody else has the right to stick their nose in your business. They don't. Absolutely, unequivocally, it's your private business and it's nobody's business but yours.
That's correct. Now, we try to stay out of court. We've been in court many, many, many times over 70 years. We prefer to stay out of court, okay? And that's why we did the affidavit. So in this particular situation, whoever is challenging this fellow about the viability of the trust, this fellow could write an affidavit to that challenger, okay, and specify all of his rights, meaning the writer of the affidavit, that are guaranteed to him in the Constitution, that are upheld for him in the trust, okay? And then challenge this other fellow who's challenging the trust to show that what he's advocating is constitutional. And I will guarantee you right now, what he is advocating is not constitutional. And one of the things that the fellow could say, meaning the writer of the trust, of the affidavit, when he writes the affidavit, is to say to his opponent this, and it works invariably all the time. If you maintain that your unconstitutional positions are valid, then support those unconstitutional positions by citing specific articles and amendments in the national Constitution that authorize your unconstitutional positions. That usually ends it very well, because there are no unconstitutional positions that are upheld by the Constitution. They do not exist.
Of course. All right. That sounds good. Let's see. So also I want to point out, C.S. Harville is saying he's been out of that system for 13 years. I know numerous people that are not paying taxes. Numerous.
Good.
How does it impact state taxes? Do you still just not file state taxes as well?
Okay. The state's a little bit different. You have to know what your state's position is on tax. Many states clearly say that those who are subject to federal income tax are subject to state income tax. So see what your state's position is. And if that's what it says, and you know that you're not subject to federal income tax, then honey, you're not subject to state income tax.
Absolutely. It's that
Stop
simple.
paying.
That's simple.
Now, there are some people that are subject to state income taxes, like government employees.
Yes.
Their vehicles.
That's a fact. And so if they are, then they have to pay what, unfortunately, the state assesses against them. But for the average guy or gal, no. You need to know. You need to check it out.
So if you were an Uber driver, somebody like that, you might have to pay taxes because you're using your
Uber
vehicle.
driver doesn't necessarily work for the state, does he?
No,
He
but
works for
isn't
somebody else.
it also though that somebody that uses their vehicle for like a taxi cab driver or a truck driver?
Well, that's kind of a gray area as far as I'm concerned.
okay.
It's still his automobile and his services. But the state might look at it as, well, you're in commerce, so you have to do this and do that. I wouldn't.
Let's look at it from this point of view. Remember what I said, everything with the government is a fraud. Everything. I don't care what you're talking about. I mean, there may be a few situations here and there that are not fraudulent, but so few you can't even count them. All right.
I know.
Let's take the Uber driver. All right. Constitution basically states that we have the right to earn a living, doesn't it?
Yes.
We have the right to earn a living. Okay. And our wages from that living, or the proceeds from that living, is not taxable, period.
Yep.
Because you cannot tax personal income. Okay.
It's not income.
We never use the word income.
You just used it.
Remuneration.
Yes.
Okay.
Compensation.
You can't tax that. Okay. So let's take the Uber driver. The state says to the Uber driver, oh, no. You can't get a car and just go out and ferry passengers around. you have to comply with all the state rules and regulations. Well, what is he doing right away? He's complying with state rules and regulations that are completely 1 billion% unconstitutional. And that's what everyone in the country does. They comply with unconstitutional positions imposed upon them. For instance, you can't drive a car, okay, unless you have a license. Says who? We have the right to travel anywhere in this country without any rules or regulations
No
imposed
infringements
upon
whatsoever.
us whatsoever. It's just like the Second Amendment shall not be infringed. People don't know their rights, Michelle. Okay,
I know.
they've got to start learning them real fast, and I'm serious.
I know.
I'm
I know.
trying.
Okay, so Southern Georgia says once you're out, what happens to Social Security or Medicare that you already paid into?
And keep those. Those are not the same thing as the deductions that are made for payroll taxes. Okay. The IRS system is different from the Social Security system. So whatever you've paid in is yours. And when you're ready to claim your Social Security, you can claim it. You can continue to have Social Security and Medicare taken out. And that's to me, that's a commonsensical thing, because after you've been vested in this for so long, why would you want to give that up? I wouldn't, certainly.
No.
So maintain it. But it has nothing to do with the income tax. It's a separate entity entirely. Okay.
All right. Thank you so much for all your help today, Jack, Margy. Okay, so if you're thinking, I want to create a constitutional pure trust, Producer Ron, will you make sure that you put up their email address on the screen and also in today's show description? So that way everybody can reach out to Jack and Margy if they want to look into more of doing a constitutional pure trust. And so Jack and Margy at protonmail.com. And I'm so glad you guys are back. We'll see how Friday's doctor's appointment goes, but I'm going to expect that you'll be back sooner than this last time. I said you could have a month or so off, and look what y'all have done. I give an inch and you take a mile.
We're always happy to be with you, Michelle.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it. All right. We're so happy to see the two of you. I know, because I've had viewers going, where's Jack and Margy? All right. We'll see you soon. We'll have you back. All right. Well, I think today's show has just been absolutely phenomenal personally. So first we helped you with knowing what to do with investing in metals and explaining about the IRA and how it's a self-directed IRA, just so much stuff. And then with Jack and Margy on a constitutional pure trust and what your rights are. And if this is the first time that you've seen Jack and Margy Flynn, I highly recommend you go to truthtalkamerica.com and go to the Michelle Moore Show button. And then on the Michelle Moore Show page on truthtalkamerica.com, you're going to see a playlist for Jack and Margy. And I would start at the beginning. And if today you're thinking, holy moly, yeah, there's a lot of stuff. The documents that in the different shows that you'll see that are referred to that, we were told, they're on the Michelle Moore Show. They're still there. We leave them on there because people still watch old shows. I call them old, but I'll get comments and emails from shows that were 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, a year ago. So that's how I know people are still watching those shows. So just know that all those resources are still available for you on MichelleMooreShow.com. All right. Well, tomorrow we're going to be running a documentary. And then Thursday, we've got quite the treat for you. We have, I don't know if y'all know about this, but there was a woman who was telling the doctors at a hospital 2 days before Kennedy was shot, talking about JFK, she was telling them Kennedy's going to be shot. And so her son, his name is Michael, and Michael is going to be here on Thursday. And boy, is it a jaw dropper. So we're going to be talking with him and talking about her story. There are so many aspects to it that's so interesting. Jack Ruby is involved. It's a ton of stuff. And then next Thursday, mark your calendars as well, we're going to be having another gentleman who is a retired FBI agent who also has done extensive Kennedy assassination research. And he's going to be here as well next Thursday. So, and then we have a third Thursday we're going to be doing as well on the Kennedy assassination stuff. But y'all be careful, be prepared, because I've already been shocked about some of the stuff I've learned. And so anyways, but it'll be interesting. All right, we'll see you right here next time on the Michelle Moore Show.
Are you tired of all the pills in your medicine cabinet? I'm Linda Bamber Olson, the creator of the Wave Watch, a more natural approach with 1,000 frequencies for mind and body. People have used the Wave Watch for kidney stones, arteries, blood, immune system, vagus nerve, myocarditis, allergies, colds and flu, ADD and ADHD, strokes, Parkinson's, carpal tunnel, thyroid, Lyme disease, and so much more. Wave Watch has a 1-year manufacturer's warranty for defects and flaws, and you can also upgrade to an additional warranty for water damage and breakage. Are you tired of all your pills and endless trips to the pharmacy? Why not try the Wave Watch with 1,000 different self-care ideas and put your mind at ease?
Just go to wavewatch.com. At checkout, use the code Michelle100 to receive $100 savings on your purchase. Did you know your cell phone emits radiation that has been linked to increased risk of certain types of cancers? This is why manufacturers include hidden warnings to keep your phone away from your body. And what's worse is that children are more susceptible to the potentially damaging effects. Safe Sleeve for cell phones is a case specifically designed to block radiation. Its shielding technology integrated into the case has been tested in a third-party FCC accredited lab to block over 99% of RF and 92% of ELF radiation emitted by your phone. It also functions as a stand for watching videos and comes in a magnetically detachable style for some devices. Safe Sleeve also offers anti-radiation cases for tablets and laptops and has free shipping in the U.S. plus discounted worldwide shipping is available. Go to truthtalkamerica.com today and click on the Safe Sleeve banner on the home page. Use the discount code FIRST10 at checkout for 10% off your first order.
I'm Dr. Fuljenz. For over 30 years, UCB has helped customers strengthen portfolios with gold. But let them tell you in their own words.
Buying gold and silver from Universal Coin and Bullion has been one of the greatest experiences for me, and it's been an easy process and also a very safe process to do that.
Call now to secure your 1-ounce gold or silver American Eagle coin with no dealer markup.
For Michelle's social media links, go to MichelleMooreShow.com.